And we can move on with number 22, which says 7n squared minus 70n over n minus 10. And again, it says simplify the expression. So to simplify this, we're going to want to look at the top. Okay, well, it's a squared, but we don't have three terms, so we need to look. Is there anything we can pull out of this? Well, 7 and 70, we can definitely pull out a 7. N squared and n, we can definitely pull out an n. So 7 divided by 7 is 1. N squared and n would leave us with n to the first. Minus 70 divided by 7 gives us 10. N divided by n, we won't have anything left. On the bottom, there's not much we can do. It's just n minus 10. So I know I wrote a couple extra things up here. You don't really need this one here or this one. So we have 7n, n minus 10, over n minus 10. We can cancel these. They'll both end up as 1s. And we'll end up with just a 7n. 24. 45v minus 5v squared over 5v minus 45. Okay, we need to factor something first because our directions are to simplify. So looking at the top, we do have a squared, but again, not three terms. So what can I pull out of the top? 45 and 5. I can pull out a 5. V and v squared, I can pull out a v. And I'll be left with 45 divided by 5 is 9. V and v leaves us with nothing. Minus 5 divided by 5 is a 1. V squared divided by v will leave us with v to the first. And again, you don't need this or this. You just need the v if you want. On the bottom. Now this we can factor something out of. We have a 5v minus 45. So from the top, I know I can pull a 5 out of that. And I'll be left with a v, because 5 divided by 5 gives us that 1. And v is what's left. Minus 45 divided by 5 is 9. Now if you look, you got some things that are similar here. First of all, I know I can cancel these. This is when we were talking about those cousins. They're not identical, but they're really close. And you always have, or not cousins, sorry, twins. Talking about these twins because they're really close, but they're not exactly the same. And there's definitely always one bad twin. So when you cancel something where the orders are reversed with the minus, you end up with a negative 1 in one place. So on the top here, I still have my v. I have a negative 1. So that would be negative 1v. Over, on the bottom here, everything canceled to 1s. So that ends up being negative 1v. Or if you just wrote negative v, you'd be perfectly fine. That's 24. 26, getting even more complicated. Starts with x squared minus 7x minus 8 over 3x to the third minus 6x squared minus 144x. So let's start. Can we take anything out of the top? No, we can't. So we just need to factor it. Well, nothing in front of this x, so we're going to have x and x. Minus 8, the factors of 8 are 1 and 8, 2 and 4. 3 doesn't work, 4 is already here. So to get to a negative 7, it looks like 1 and 8 is where we're going to have to go. 1 and 8. The second negative here tells us the signs are going to be different. The first negative here tells us that the bigger one's going to be negative. So we have negative 8, positive 1. Perfect. On the bottom now, can we pull anything out of this? Well, we definitely can because we have an x and x and x. So we have an x, we have 3, 6, and 144. Well, I know that 3 goes into 3, 3 goes into 6, and if you use your calculator, do 144 divided by 3, you'll find out that it's 48. So 3 can go into all of those. So I'll have 3x on the outside, and I'll be left with x squared minus 2x minus 48. That x is gone because it got pulled out here, remember? So the bottom now is going to go up to here. We have 3x still. Don't want to lose that out in front. And we need to factor that quadratic. So with an x squared, we'll have x and x. Factors of 48 are 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 5 doesn't work, 6 and 8, 7 doesn't work, and we're back to 8. And we need to get to a -2. So looking down this list, we should see that 6 and 8 will get us where we need to be. The second minus tells us the signs are different. The first minus tells us the bigger one's negative. So we have a -8 and a +6. So we have x plus 1, x minus 8 over 3x, x plus 6, x minus 8. Looking here, we do see one thing we can get rid of on the top and bottom. So we'll be left with x plus 1 over 3x, x plus 6. Alrighty, 28 gives us a different set of directions now. It says multiply or divide each expression. So we start out with 6m squared minus 24m over m minus 4 times 10m plus 40 over m squared minus 2m minus 24. So right away we want to see if we can factor anything here. So looking at this first numerator, 6m squared minus 24m. Right away I see there's an m on both of them, so I know at least I can factor out an m. So I'll pull that out in front. Looking at the numbers 6 and 24, you should think, okay, 6, 1, 2, 3, and 6 are the factors. 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Oh, 6 is in both of them, so let's pull that 6 out in front. So we'll have 6m, parentheses, m squared, 6 and 6 go to a 1, which we don't even need to write. M squared and m leave us with just an m, minus 24 divided by 6 is 4, and m divided by m leaves us with nothing. Looking at the bottom of that same one, m minus 4. Pretty simple there, can't factor anything out. M minus 4. Times. On the other side here, we have a 10m plus 40. Well, it's not as obvious because they both don't have variables, but 10 and 40 definitely both have a 10 you can pull out of them. So 10, no variable. 10 divided by 10 is 1, don't even have to write it. We'll be left with an m plus 40 divided by 10 leaves us with 4, and that's that. On the bottom here, we have a quadratic trinomial. There's no coefficient here, and there's no variable on the end, so you can't factor anything out of all three of those. So right away we're going to go to our two binomials. The only way to get to m squared is m and m. Factors of 24 would be 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. 5 doesn't work, and we're back to 6. We need a set that can get us to 2. So 4 and 6 get us there. The second minus tells us the signs are different. The first minus tells us the bigger one's negative. So 4, 6 is the negative because it's bigger. 4 is the positive. From there, anything we can cancel out? Well, we have an m minus 4 and an m minus 4. We have an m plus 4 and an m plus 4. So we're left with on the top 6m times 10 over nothing, m minus 6. So 6m times 10 is 60m over m minus 6. And that should be your final answer. 30. Getting really tough right now. Again, the directions are multiply or divide each expression. This one starts with x squared minus 18x plus 80 over 6x, pretty simple bottom there, divided by negative x squared plus 14x minus 48 over 10x squared minus 60x. Very first thing you should think, this is a division problem. So I want to do my keep, change, flip. So we'll still have x squared minus 18x plus 80 over 6x. Change to multiplication and flip the second one. 10x squared minus 60x over negative x squared plus 14x minus 48. We need to factor some stuff, so looking at the top here, no coefficient, no variable, right away go to your two binomials. We'll have x and x. Factors of 80 that can get you to 18 would be a 10 and an 8. The second positive here tells us that they're the same. The first one is a minus. It tells us they're both minuses. On the bottom, 6x. Cannot do anything with that, so just leave it as 6x. Coming over here, 10x squared minus 60x. Well, I know that a 10 can go into each of those, so I'm going to have a 10 out in front. There's also x squared and x, so I can pull an x out, and I'll be left with 1x minus 6. The bottom is a little trickier. It's got this minus out in front, so you could do the slide and divide. Probably be the easiest thing to do. So we're going to slide that to the back. I'm going to go up to here to do it separately. So I'll have x squared plus 14x plus 48. So when I factor that, I'll have x squared, just an x, not an x squared. Factors of x squared are x and x. Now I need factors of 48 that can get me to 14. So 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, 5 doesn't work, 6 and 8, 7 doesn't work, and 8 is right here. So to get to 14, we'd use our 6 and 8. We have a positive and a positive, so they're both going to be pluses. And now we need to throw that, because we did our slide over here, we need to put that -1 back in front of both of them. Okay. Now I know you're saying, well, you could divide a -1 out of both of those, so you need to look and see what do you have here. Well, I would say we could probably divide a -1 out of the x minus 8. So divide by -1, divide by -1. And we'll have, for our denominator now, we'll have -x plus 6 and x minus 8. So I'm going to bring that back down to the bottom here. -x plus 6 and x minus 8. So we got to look through and see what can we cancel. Well, I have an x minus 8 right here and x minus 8 right here. Can cancel. I have a 10 and a 6. Well, 2 goes into both of those, so we can get rid of this and leave it as a 3. And 2 goes into here, it will be a 5. Our x's could cancel. And now I have x minus 10, x minus 6, and then on the bottom, -x plus 6. Well, another way to write that would actually be 6 minus x. So what do we know about 6 minus x and x minus 6? They're twins. One of them has to be the bad twin. So we're left with an x minus 10 on the top, a 5. Just slide this up a little bit. X minus 10, 5, -1. And on the bottom, we just have our 3. So this ends up being -5 x minus 10 over 3. And that negative can be with the 5 or it can be out in front. It doesn't matter either one. So that's number 30. Let's turn the page again.